Hello, welcome back to Study with Sri. Today we are going to discuss 2025 IMAT Mathematics questions. 2025 IMAT Mathematics question seems to be very easy, but I would say comparatively in 2025 they have checked a lot of fundamental theoretical aspect. So like the students who try IMAT this year, make sure that you are very clear with your fundamentals, the basics. You should be very clear with your basics, and then if you are clear with your basic, it would be very easy for you to approach very difficult questions as well. So let's dive into this. So first I'm going to go with the 48th question, which is, what's the solution to the inequality root of 2x less than 1 plus 6? Root of 2x less than 1 plus 6. I have seen so many students have had the problem with the notation. So in here they are the problem with the notations. Which notation? This a, the inverted a, which is known as the universal quantifier. So the universal quantifier means for every value of x in the solution. Usually we write x is greater than or equal to 0, but here this is universal quantifier. That tells you every value of x we are solving for. So let's try to approach this question. So I have already prepared something. So in this question you have to understand, we are trying to solve the root of 2x is less than 1 plus x. Let me consider this root of 2x and 1 plus x as two different functions. Let me say root of 2x is the function of f of x. Root of 1 plus x I consider as a g of x. So the question is the root of f of x less than gx. But you must understand the f of x function is inside the root. So if the function is inside the root, for the root to exist, so in this case, for the root to exist, for the f of x, the root to exist, you must understand the f of x would be greater than or equal to 0. Because for negative, if it is something like negative 4, you can't get the root for negative 4. If you can get, so you can write it like 2i, which is an imaginary number, or else we will go into a complex mathematics which is not required here. So you must understand the f of x should be greater than 0. If f of x is greater than 0 means it's always it's greater than 0. So then it should be less than gx means, for the f of x the minimum value is 0. But that 0 is less than gx means gx should be greater than 0. If you understand this, see the x must be greater than or equal to 0. Why? Because 1 plus x, so in this case root of 2x should be greater than or equal to 0, so the x should be greater than or equal to 0 for the rational number, otherwise you won't be getting a real answer. So now let's solve. So this is known as a restricted domain. Why restricted domain? This function, this inequality is only valid when the x is greater than or equal to 0. But let's solve this question. So root of 2x is less than 1 plus x. Let me square either side. 2x is equals to 1 plus x squared. So if you have a problem with expanding 1 plus x squared, write down, make sure this is the first term and this is the last term. We can write it as square the first term, square the last term. In the middle term would be 2 times first term and the second term. So that's how we expand it. So that's a simple binomial expansion. So we can write 2x is less than 1 plus 2x plus x squared. You can cancel out 2x and 2x. So you know 1 plus x squared is less than 0. But if anyone solved for this question, they might have thought, whatever the value you plug for x, whether you plug -1 or -10, whatever it is always positive. But that if that is positive means this value should be greater than 0. So there is a chance they might get confused. They might choose something like all the real values. There is a chance the students might think all the real values. But you must understand this inequality, for the inequality to be valid, the f of x should be having a root. For f of x to be in a real number, or else to have a real root, to the root to exist, f of x should be greater than or equal to 0. So this entire inequality should be equal, or else it is valid only when the x is greater than or else equals to 0. So answer should be, the x should be, or else you say every x should be greater than or equal to 0. It's a very simple question. So you must understand a function, what is domain and what is range and what is the restricted domain. So if you are practicing these days the IMAT questions, make sure to understand these fundamentals. These are very important for you to excel. Now if we go for the let's move to the second question. If we move to the second question, okay, so see, which of the following inequalities is satisfied for every real value of x? Which of the following inequality is satisfied for every real value of x? So they are talking about every real values of x. So here, to approach this question with the maximum clarity, remember when you are doing the question, you should be having a maximum clarity. If you have a dilemma, then there is a chance that you can choose in between one like answers. But if you have a maximum clarity, you can save your time, and then also you can choose the correct answer. So now when you are solving this question, we have to break down into 3 logical layers. One is, you should be knowing the properties of trigonometric functions, so understand, study basic trigonometric functions, the behavior of a quadratic inequalities, the quadratics and the inequalities, and the final subset of logic. So let's try to approach this question. So first, think about the trigonometric functions. So I'm going to talk about the trigonometric functions. The trigonometric functions, let's say for the sine and the cos and the tan, where this is valid. So let's go with the sine function. You must understand the sine functions are valid. So the sine, if you draw sine x function, yx, so the y is sine x means the sine x is having a maximum value of +1 and the minimum value is -1. Regardless of whatever the x, the maximum of sine is 1 and the minimum of sine is -1. So you can understand the mathematical logic. I would say the x should be, the sine x should be in between -1 and +1. Now if we go for the question, let me check the first answer. The first answer, it's the answer itself. Sine squared x plus sine x minus 2 is less than 0. So I'm going to consider the sine squared x. So let me consider the sine x as u. So I can write it in a quadratic form, which is u squared plus u minus 2 is less than or equal to 0. Before I solve this inequality, let me write it as just the quadratic equation form. So now I can factorize it. U plus 2, u minus 1 is equals to 0. So u should be -2 and u should be 1. So then you can say the u should be in between -2 and +1. So if you have a problem why I have chosen like that, because if it is just a quadratic equation, it would be having a if it is a parabola question, if it is having a solution, it should be in between. Like if it is having a solution -2 and then +1, -2 and +1. So this is u squared plus u minus 2. It's a quadratic equation. The coefficient of u squared is 1, so it would be having a minimum point. So the graph should be like this. So here the roots are -2 and +1. For this one, you can see -2 and +1. For this to be valid, you must understand So this equation, so the x is in between, for the x is in between minus 2 and plus 1, minus 2 and plus 1. So the u should be in between minus 2 and plus 1. So if u is in between minus 2 and plus 1, sin x also in between minus 2 and plus 1. But you know, the sin x possibilities are, the range of sin x values are minus 1 and plus 1. If it's minus 1 and plus 1, so the answer we got is the sin x is in between minus 2. The answer we got is sin x is in between minus 2 and plus 1. So our possible values for sin x is minus 1 and plus 1, in between minus 1 and plus 1, because minimum is minus 1, maximum is plus 1. But that is still included in this minus 2 and plus 1, because minus 1 is greater than minus 2 and then 1 is equals to 1. So it could be in between minus 1 and plus 1. So the possible answer for this question, the accurate answer for this question is A. You can check out other answers, but straight away if you have a good clarity, you can simply choose the A, and you don't want to go for the remaining questions, remaining answers. So you can save your time and you know what you are doing is correct. So you won't be having a much doubt. So that's about the second question. It's very important. So this time study about the fundamental trigonometries, study about solving inequalities, study about the domain values for this question, like this kind of a question, and try to use some logic. And if you should be practicing enough of questions with this, then it would be very easy. Make sure you are very much clear with your fundamentals. And then if I go for the next question, the next question is, what does the Cartesian product of set A and set B correspond to? What does the Cartesian product of set A and set B correspond to? So it's a very interesting question. We have to look at 3 specific rules that define a Cartesian product. It is a very fundamental mathematical foundation, I would say, because you see, these questions may be complicated for the students who doesn't have a very good basic. You can do very complex questions only if you are clear with your basics. So the concept is the mathematical foundation for everything from a very simple grid to complex computer databases. Whether you are working with the computer data, different databases, or else if you are doing a vector calculus, this is the fundamental. And the XY coordinate system. So the basis is XY coordinate system. So if I solve this, try to understand. If you have the sets A and sets B, the Cartesian product can be written as A times B is a way of combining them to create a new set. You have a set of A and you have a set of B. The Cartesian product A times B is a way of combining them to create a new set. So this new set contains every possible combinations of elements from A and the B from the 2 original sets. So there we will be talking about the ordered pair rule. Here we'll be talking about the ordered pair rule. So what is this ordered pair rule? So let's try to understand what is this ordered pair rule. First one, the new set contains every possible combination element from the 2 original sets. A very simple idea is our Cartesian coordinates. In the Cartesian coordinate system, this is x-axis and the y-axis. The x might be having a sets of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. Y also could be having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. Now if you choose any values in the grid, that is having all the possibilities. But you must understand the order matters. In the product A times B, the first value must be x and the second value first value must be come from the set A, and the second value y, that must come from the set B. Because if you swap them like y into x, if you swap them y comma x, it is no longer an element A times B, it would be an element B times A. So the order matters. So this is known as ordered pair value. So let's see an example. In this example, set A consists of 1, 2, set B consists of x, y, y comma z. If I write Cartesian product A times B, we are talking about all the possible values. You choose one from A, x from B, 1 comma x, 1 comma y, 1 comma z, 2 comma x, 2 comma y, 2 comma z. But if you are, but is it same with the B times A? No. So you must understand in the Cartesian coordinates and all, the A times B is not equals to B times A in this case. This is known as a ordered pair value. These are very fundamentals and very interesting. So that's what I'm saying. It's a very fundamental. So in the context of the exam question, the Cartesian product is simply the formal name for the collection of all these specific pairings. So I would say the set of all the possible ordered pairs. So if I choose the answer, we can say it should be the set of all the possible ordered pairs having as the first component element of A and as the second component and element of B. See, this is, if you read this question, you must know, you might not notice the fundamentals. See, this is talking about the ordered pair values. See, so in this IMAT, this year IMAT, let's say they are asking what does the Cartesian product of a set B and a set A correspond to means. Will the A be the answer? No. Because we have to make sure the ordered pair value is adhered and aligned. So this is also a fundamental. Vector space, computer space, whether you are talking about the complex numbers, all the complex ideas are coming from these basic fundamentals, and understanding these basic fundamentals is very important. So the next one, the trinomial a squared minus 4ab plus 4b squared is equals to. This is a very simple question. Trinomial, binomial, polynomial. So that's a lot. So it's just the number of terms and stuff. And you know about the polynomials. If you don't know, you can let me know. Maybe in one session I can put a video on that polynomials and stuff. So the trinomial a squared minus 4ab plus 4b squared. So that's equals to. That's the question. It's a very simple question. But again, it is a pattern recognition problem, I would say. It's a pattern recognition problem. Here, the goal is to not solve it from the scratch, but to recognize the fundamental algebraic identity immediately. So you have to understand the a squared minus 4ab plus 4b squared. So let's see how to solve that. This is a trinomial and which is a pattern recognition. First, whenever you expand this kind of x plus y squared, those expansion and all you should be very clear with. This is, you take x as a first term, y is a last term. The classical example or else the classical pattern is, the first term is the square of first term, last end is the square of second term, and the in between is plus or minus 2 times first term times second term. So first term times second term. So that's a very simple idea. So you can see what is the question you are having. A squared, so that is square of the first term. So what should be a first term? A. 4b squared, it is a square of the second term. So you get the square root of 4b squared, which is 2b. That's fine. The middle term is, it is a product of 2 times first term times second term. So you are having minus 4ab. You are having minus 4ab. So obviously either A or else B should be having a negative. So I can say minus 2b in this case. So I can say the first term is A, second term is minus 2b. So A minus 2b squared. So it is a very simple pattern recognition problem. So these are very simple. So if you have a good clarity, you won't be wasting the time on dilemma. Okay, this is whether it is right or wrong, something like that. Okay. So it's a very easy question. So now let's go for the next one. So the next question is a very straightaway question, which is, in a rectangle ABCD, the base AB is 5/4 of the height BC and the perimeter is 72 centimeter. What are the dimensions of the rectangle? So they are asking the dimensions of the rectangle, both the height, the width and height. So make sure whenever you are doing this kind of a question, sketch it, even though it could be easy. To avoid any careless mistake, make sure you sketch the diagrams very easily. So let me sketch it. ABCD, which is the rectangle. BC, so you know, first you have to read the question. In that question that says BC is x and the AB is 5/4 of height. So if I take height is x and the AB is 5/4x, then we have to find out the perimeter. So perimeter means, then for the perimeter of rectangles, this is x and this is x, multiply by 2, so 2x. This is 5x by 4, multiply by 2, it's 5x by 2, add together 72. Now it's very simple, solve it. 2, you get the, you multiply everything by 2, so 2 into 2, 4x, 2 into 5x, 5x is already there, 2 into 72, 144, 9x is 144, you solve for x is 16, so x is 16, so height is 16, and what is your width? The width would be 5 into 16 divided by 4, which is 20. It's a very simple idea. Okay, so these are very simple questions, but make sure to avoid any careless mistakes. Sketch it, write it. It won't take much time, very quickly. And let's go for the third one. For which values of A, the A is the for which values of A is the equation 3x plus A is equals to 3 determined. So this is a very good question. It's a very fundamental question. For which values of A is the equation 3x plus A is equals to 3 determined. So to understand this, to solve this, you need to understand the fundamental classifications of linear equations. The fundamental classification of linear equations, even though you might have approached this question in a different way, let me explain it in a different way. So what we are going to do is, so here you have to solve 3x plus A is equals to 3. Any linear equations can be written in the form of, to theoretical perspective, any can be written in the form of AX, B. The A is the coefficient of x and the B is a constant. To solve this, you need to understand the fundamental classifications of linear equations. So there is a theory behind it. Let's try to understand the theory. Any linear equation, you can it can be simplified into the form of AX is equals to B. The value of the coefficient A determines the nature of the solution. The value of coefficient A is the one which is determining the nature of the solution. So the linear equations can be classified, or else you can simplify, you can identify, distinguish into three main terms. One is determined, impossible, indeterminate. Determined, which means it's a unique solutions. There are unique solution for that. Second one, impossible. There is no solution. Whatever the equation, there is no solution. Indeterminate, which is infinite number of solutions. So let's try to understand the first one, the determinate. The determined one occurs when the A is not equals to 0. When the A is not equal to 0, you can, if the A is not equal to 0, you can have the solution. You will be having a unique solution regardless of whatever the B. If the A is not equals to 0, you will be having the solution. So that is simply x is equals to B over A. Second one, impossible. If the A is equals to 0 but B is not equal to 0 means, which is never true. For example, just imagine 0x is equals to 0. Sorry, 0x is equals to 5. This exists. I'm talking about 0x is equals to 5. Is there any solution? Do you think can there be any solution? A is 0 but B is not equal to 0, then it is impossible. You won't get any solution. So this is, you must understand, it is never true, which is impossible or else no solution. Third one is indeterminate. Indeterminate means infinite number of solutions. So this occurs if A is equals to 0 and B is equal to 0. Both A and B is equals to 0. It's always true, which we have discussed, 0x is equals to 0. It is always true because there you can have an infinite number of solutions. So this is the basic idea, and now try to approach this question with that way. So now let's analyze this equation. The equation is given as 3x plus a is equals to 3x plus a is equals to 3. So first let me write it in the conventional way, the linear form. Ax is equals to b. So I write 3x, so 3 minus a. So you have to identify 3 is our a, 3 minus a is b. So we know the three types. One is determinate, unique solution. Second one, no solution. Third one, infinite solution. For the determinate, we have discussed that a is not equal to 0. Yes, then it's a determinant. So here, in this case, is a is equal to 0? No, a is 3. If the a is 3 means, regardless of whatever the a, this is always true. There will be a unique solution. So if you say a is equal to 3 means, let me write x is equals to 3 minus a over 3. You put whatever for a, definitely there will be a solution. There will be definitely a solution. Why? Because if you say a is equal to 0, 3 divided by 3 is 1. If a is equals to 10, 3 minus 10 is minus 7 by 3. If a is equals to 1000, 1 crore, whatever it is, there are still exactly a one solution. So if it is a determined one, if the a is not equal to 0, regardless of whatever the x, there will be a unique solution. So therefore the equation is determined for any value of a. It is determined for any value of a. It's a very important, and you have to understand the word determined. And there is one more question. Let's see that question as well, which is, given the equation a plus 3 into x is equals to 5, which of the following values of a is impossible? Which of the following values of a is impossible? So let's try to understand that question. So here we must understand, given the equation a plus 3x is equals to 5, which value of a is impossible? In mathematics, an impossible equation is one that has no possible solution for x. The impossible one is there is no possible solution for x. So impossible we have discussed already in the previous question. Impossible means if the linear equation is ax is equals to b, a is 0 but b is not equal to 0, then you won't be having, that is an impossible equation. It is a second type. So if it is an impossible equation means, here we can simply say a plus 3x is equals to 5. So if a is 0 and b is not equal to 0, b is already 5. So if to have an impossible solution, a plus 3 must be equal to 0. Our a must be equals to 0. So what is our a? It's simply minus 3. So it's a very simple understanding. So this is how you have to practice. These questions are very easy, but there is a very fundamental theoretical concept. So you can practice a lot of questions, like to achieve IMAT and then to get good score in any competitive exams, UCAT, MCAT, whatever it is. When you are starting now, don't think about your speed. Now understand your fundamentals. Very thorough with your fundamentals. Then practice a lot of questions. If you keep on practicing a lot of questions, then you can gradually increase your speed, and you can see your speed. You have to be very determined, and you can see gradually when you are practicing a lot of questions, you can increase your speed. So this is for the IMAT 2025 max questions. So in the next video, I will be explaining the questions related to physics. I hope this video is useful for you, and if it is useful, please like and share with your friends. And also if you have any doubts, you can write your doubts in the comment section so I can explain them. And then I'll be doing the tutorings for IMAT, and if you want to join, and you can connect my WhatsApp, which is in the video. So we will meet in the next session, and I'll be creating a new playlist. In this playlist, it will be all about IMAT in biology, chemistry, and physics and mathematics. So if you find useful, you can subscribe, and you can get the regular